flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And if we could just stand, I didn't tell you this, just for a moment of silence. We had the wife of one of our former mayors who recently passed away, and I found this information out over the weekend, and I just wanted to send my condolences out to the family and thank them. Okay, thank you, everyone. So we're going to move into public comment, but my understanding is that we do not have anyone in the queue, but I'm going to go ahead and read the instructions. This portion of the meeting is specifically set aside for comments from the public who are asked to limit their comments to 2 minutes. Any person interested in providing public comment should email public meetings at rockyhillct.gov, and you will be provided with a link to attend the Zoom remote meeting and instructions on how you will participate. Okay, so moving on to appointments and resignations. Do we have any? Councilor Duff.
We do not.
And Deputy Mayor Sharma.
We do not.
Thank you. Moving on to approval of the minutes, the Town Council meeting March 1st, which you have in your packets.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to accept the minutes of the March 1st, 2021 meeting, Town Council.
Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Moving on to subcommittee reports, subsection A, Finance. Is there a report?
Yep, Finance Committee met on March 3rd. In our meeting, we had a request from the Central Connecticut Health District for some additional funding to help with their expenses incurred during the ongoing pandemic. The town had received approximately $180,600 in OPM funds. We had previously expended $44,500, leaving a balance of $136,000. So the Finance Committee approved providing $20,500 to the Central Connecticut Health District, leaving a balance of approximately $115,500 in the OPM funding that we received. We also approved $42,000 as a line item adjustment at the recommendation of our finance director and town manager for the outdoor swimming pools at Elm Ridge Park. The expense would be incurred for sandblasting and painting of the pools with an estimated life expectancy of approximately 5 years. New business item C on tonight's agenda. The Finance Committee moved to the council the temporary easement and maintenance agreement for 33 Church Street. Also on the consent agenda tonight is the approval of the suspense tax list. On the suspense tax list from 2017, there were 38 accounts for personal property tax totaling $46,431 and 337 accounts on motor vehicle and motor vehicle supplemental taxes totaling $71,618. While these items are moved to the suspense list, the town does continue to attempt to collect these debts and will continue to do so. There was a couple of internal transfers to the Board of Education for COVID expenses of $230,179, as well as the final expenses were paid on the Stevens roof replacement project that the council had allocated money for, or to the Board of Ed for, and we are waiting for reimbursement from the state. Additionally, the town is expecting to receive some money from the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. The estimated amount was $1.9 million on the town side and $0.9 million on the Board of Ed side. Those funds will be received, the first half of those funds will be received in approximately 60 days, and the second half will be received in 1 year. We are still awaiting additional information to what the restrictions and the use of those funds are. I believe CCM will be providing some additional information. After the meeting, I also learned that there may be some additional funding set aside from that same rescue plan. As Connecticut doesn't have counties, the bill allows for money to come to the counties, and the formula for that still is not 100%. So there may be some other funds that may become available. The last item from our meeting is the town did reach out to get some bids on Straska Farms cleanup project, and those bids are due to the town on the 17th, which is this coming Wednesday. That concludes the finance report.
Sorry, thank you. Government ops.
Alan, just want to clarify one thing. I think you might have said $9 million to the Board of Ed.
0.9.
It's only 900,000.
Yes, 900,000.
Yeah.
0.9. Yes, not 9 million. If I misspoke, thank you for correcting me.
No, because they could be outspending it right now.
Thank you, John.
Okay, government ops.
Government operations did not meet since our last meeting. We are next scheduled to meet on April 5th.
Thank you. How about public safety?
Public safety met earlier today, and I can report from the chiefs that in-person training, both in fire, police, EMS is kind of back to normal now. They're getting back into their swing on in-person training, so training hours are up all the way around. But Rock Hill Fire incidents responded to 46, 99 year to date. Training hours recorded 270, year to date 405. Firefighter injuries, 1 reported, 1 year to date. 3 new members year to date. There are 4 out inactive members for various sundry reasons. But the fire department is operating basically at full strength. The police department reports that it also will be at full strength when they get they have 1 open patrol officer to fill, and it's being filled on March 22nd. So they'll be at the full staffing level there. 2 officers in field training, 1 in the academy. Nobody out on COVID, and they are seeing an uptick in calls for service at 2,980 calls, 21 criminal arrests, 32 motor vehicle accidents, 19 infractions issued, 113 warnings issued, 121 training hours. The See Something, Say Something tip line has been successfully implemented, and that phone number is 860-258-2020. It is a recorded line, and you should feel safe in calling and providing an anonymous tip if you're seeing something, whatever it might be, that you would like the police to look into. So they are monitoring that. We had some positive results from 1 detective spending time with the Harper Task Force on the car theft, property theft issue, and more to come on that at subsequent meetings. Ambulance, 310 calls, 677 year to date, 77 members strong. Nobody out on COVID. Things are moving along fine there. Emergency management reports that they still haven't rescheduled the drills, the desktop tabletop emergency drill that the town is required to host. Those have been postponed, but we'll get that back on. And it'll either be a townwide emergency or it could be the school drill. And then we do have 2 dates for vaccines, March 20th and March 27th. And those appointments are for people getting their second dose that already received their first dose. So they're circling back and doing the second doses on those 2 dates. And that's all I have to report. The next meeting for public safety will be April 19th at 5:30.
Okay, thank you. Is there a report from senior liaison?
Senior liaison has not met since our last meeting. Our next meeting is the 22nd of March.
Okay, thank you. Land acquisition and farmland preservation?
No meeting since our last meeting, and the next regularly scheduled meeting is March 23rd at 6 p.m. So there'll be a report at the next town council meeting.
I just want to add one thing, that we did get a quote today from CIVIC on proposal to do some testing, environmental testing, and we're going to review that and may initiate that because we need some of these as results associated with the Brownsfield grant that you see later on in the grant. So their total was about $30,000 to do testing of the soil and the buildings, see what type of chemicals they have in there, and so on. And also there's a concern that the, I think it's parcel B is what we call it, does have arsenic. They'll be testing for that.
Okay. Liaison to the state rep and the state senator?
No report.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, if I may, I was able to touch base with Senator Lesser, and there's a couple things that I think are of interest to the council. He's been working with legislative leadership on the comprehensive bill on the juvenile crime, and they're discussing things obviously like increasing penalties, more funding for the local police departments for equipment and so forth, and also to enhance the options for juvenile facilities, secured facilities. And there's no bill number yet because they're still negotiating language. So I'm assuming when they have something total, they will have a bill number. And also the Judiciary Committee unanimously passed changes to the police accountability bill. And basically they made adjustments based on input from the police department and from police departments and public safety officials. They're amending the use of force sections of it, and they're delaying implementation until 2022 to allow for adequate training. So hopefully those are good signs for helping with the crime issues.
Okay, did he send that report to you, Counselor Thoreau?
We were just talking back and forth, and it's just, I asked him, hey, what's going on? And he kind of gave me the input. So.
Great, I really appreciate that. It would be very helpful if he could communicate with Deputy Sharma. I know that he reaches out. I'm not saying he shouldn't communicate with you. We certainly appreciate that, but if you can just let him know, maybe he doesn't have that information. But we appreciate that report, and we thank the senator for letting us know. Okay, moving on to school liaison.
No meeting, no report, Madam. Thank you.
Wonderful. And the Capital Improvements Committee?
No meeting, no report.
Okay. And then the Economic Development Subcommittee?
And the same, no meeting, no report.
Gotcha. Okay, so let's go to the consent agenda. Approval of the 2020-2021 property tax suspense list.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the 2020-2021 property tax suspense list.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Moving on to old business. Discussion, possible action, community/senior center.
Thank you. Last week with the warm weather that we had later on in the week, it put the masons back. And if you notice the walls that face the fire station, they are working on putting the brick on those. But I think they may be back inside due to the colder weather. EC did approve for the PAC, the construction manager, to extend completion date from June 15th to August 8th, primarily due to some unforeseen items relating to the roof of the buildings. Due to the plans might have something different on there than actually was designed. So they moved it from June 15th to August 8th. This relates to roof drains as well as finding drainage pipe that isn't on the plans. That top of being found, it also had asbestos, so it had to be abated and so on. So that sort of put the town off a bit, because once they finish the construction, then they'll start bringing in some of the furniture and the electronics that are sensitive, dust sensitive, and so on. So that's why they're waiting for completion of the construction phase. And so we probably won't be planning on any opening of the community center, senior center, until probably around the Labor Day timeframe, sometime in September. And that's it.
Okay. Anyone have any questions of John?
So do we have and I guess I don't know all the specifics of that situation, but that I assume would be a change order. There's some extra work that has to be done there. Do we have any recourse in terms of missing that step to recover any costs? Are we paying out of pocket? How does that work, given that it sounds like there's some stuff that was missed on the plans that were drafted?
Well, there'll be a change order associated with the additional cost and so on. And a lot of this will be resolved at the end of the project.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. Hearing nothing else, we'll move on to item B, discussion, possible action, Commission on Inclusion and Innovation. And tonight we have Dana McGee with us, the Director of HR, as well as our legal compliance attorney. And welcome, Dana. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much. And thank you to our counselors for giving me a few minutes to speak this evening. First, just to step back in time a little bit, at the September 21st, 2020 Town Council meeting, you may recall we discussed the creation of a commission. At that meeting, we discussed that the concept of the commission arose from the joint vision of representatives of the Town Council, including Mayor Murata and Councilman Duff. The town councilors explained that the commission's fundamental purpose would be to foster community partnerships to explore issues of diversity, inclusion, and accessibility. The specific issues to be addressed by the commission and the specific programs sponsored by the commission would arise organically from the input of community members and individuals appointed to the commission by the town council. Over the past several months, our town council leaders have engaged in additional research and quite a bit of deliberation with other subject matter experts about the concept of the commission, because they are very concerned that we do something unique with this body. We are now ready to move forward to the next step in the process, specifically that being the ordinance-based creation of a commission. Our town councilors who have been working on this vision have determined that the commission would be created through the ordinance process, which is of course defined by town charter, to ensure a sense of permanence and consistency over time. At the September 21 meeting, town council meeting, you were provided with an overview of the procedure that buttresses the creation of a commission. Today, we're going to speak further about the concept of the commission and the importance of community input regarding the commission's creation. In the town of Rocky Hill, our town councilors are the municipality's policymakers. I'm so sorry.
That's the best part of the meeting. Let's be real. We like to smile.
It's important to understand that our town policymakers' vision for the commission, and the intention is for the commission to be a forum to explore community-based issues. The goal is to avoid replicating any venue for hearing individual grievances and complaints. We can't emphasize that enough. There is the understanding that we have policies, procedures, and multiple offices in existence internally and externally to address these matters. So the commission's purpose is to build and leverage resident and business partnerships, raise awareness, and create forums designed to bring people together. Those programs and activities would include conversations that would address a wide range of issues, including diversity, accessibility, inclusion, cross-cultural exchange, cultural dexterity, equity, civic engagement, education, housing, transportation, intergroup partnerships, and of course, difficult conversations if the need arises. The April 5th meeting, if we go do this according to plan, would be the meeting where our counselors plan to introduce a draft ordinance. Again, that draft ordinance would form the basis of the commission. And at this point, I will turn it over to Councilman Duff and Mayor Murata to talk a little more about the vision and the concept.
Thank you. Yeah, I know that Councilor Duff and I have been talking about this for several months now. And I think, there has been a bit of a delay just because we want to get it right. We want this to be something that transcends generations. It's not something that's meant to be temporary. And I think with so many difficult conversations going on now, and our need to sort of recognize what our role is as a municipal body, necessarily meant that we had to take a step back and really imagine what this commission could look like and how it can benefit everyone. So I know that I'm super excited to explore the opportunities. I think one of the things that I've learned most from attending numerous webinars and conferences, and particularly the most impactful ones for me have been with the National League of Cities, is that, for us as a group of policymakers, right, what is our role? Particularly as we see renewed conversations with respect to racial justice and injustice. What is our role? And our role is to empower, right? To create opportunities where we can showcase what we're good at, but also innovate things that maybe other municipalities haven't done yet, to raise up the people in our community, even our local businesses, to help one another. And so for me, that's the most important message here. And I'm very excited by the opportunity to explore this a little bit further. Councilor Duff, I'm sure you have something to say.
Good bet.
I mean it that way. I'm just, I didn't mean it like that.
No, I gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is, I think you stated that pretty well. We're making something new here, and it's something that if it works, it will, ideally outlast all of our tenures because it'll be something useful for the town, moving forward for many years. We'll be able to, I think, discuss more about the substance of the ordinance when we get to that, and the drafts go out. But kind of building on what the mayor and Dana mentioned, the intention behind this is to get new voices into our, into the conversation. As when we think about what is our role, part of our role is listening and opening the door to others who may not traditionally participate for any number of reasons. There's lots of different ways that people can be either underrepresented or intimidated or just don't have the time commitment to do things full time. But this is an opportunity to open up some new voices, specifically people who don't necessarily participate in other ways in our community. It's not the idea of just getting folks who already serve on committees a different, place to a different day of the week to show up at town hall. And it's not intended to be a huge commitment. We're looking to have a lot of community input here. We're looking to have programs people want to participate in, but we're also looking at, meeting, I think, up to about 6 times a year, maybe more as needed. But in the spirit of making it accessible to folks, that's really the commitment that we'll be looking for, because it really is getting new voices. And we're policymakers. We are relying to make decisions on things like the budget and some other programs. But we all have, there's only 9 of us, and we all have our own backgrounds. We have a town of 20,000 people. Everybody has different stories, and they see things from their point of view. So this is a goal of trying to get some of those stories into this process, and to talk about how can we better share our experiences, come together and learn from each other, and really work on the fabric of our town, and build what we call social capital. So people really want to invest in our town in the long haul, open a business here, raise their families here, retire here, not have to worry about moving somewhere else when they get older because they feel they get supported. All the different factors that have a thriving community can play a role in this, in hopefully what we set up here. And that public input piece will be important as well once we start having the public hearings on the ordinance, because we think we've put together something pretty good here. That's a good framework for hearing these ideas from the bottom up. But it's everybody's town. We need to hear from the public as well. This is what they're going for as well. So that'll be very valuable when we do have those public hearings for the ordinance, which I guess will still be remote, but we'll figure out a way to get folks to participate if they do have comments.
Yeah, exactly. Does anyone have a comment or a question for Dana at this time? Procedural or otherwise? Okay. Councilor Greenspan.
Dana, what are our next steps to move in the process? How do we move from where we are to the finalization?
The next step is to take a draft ordinance that Mayor Murata and Councilman Duff have been crafting, and to share that with the rest of the town council, so that at your April 5th meeting, if you as a body think it's appropriate, to formally introduce that to the public and to set a public hearing date, so that the public can be formally invited to the table to give input.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, so I think our next steps are really to have you, Dana, sort of craft something that we can take a look at for our next meeting, which is the first week of April. I don't have my calendar, but that first Monday, and we can take a look at that beforehand. I presume we'll get it on the calendar for then to make a decision, but we'll have it in our hands before that meeting, and we can review it and bring whatever questions we have to that April meeting.
Understood.
Okay. All right. So in terms of action, that's what we will do. I don't think we need a motion for that. It's nothing. Okay. Well, thank you so much for that presentation and for all of your work on this. I know that you've been working very hard and doing your own research and preparing. Thanks. Okay, let's move on to new business. Section A, discussion, possible action, brownfield grant for Straska Barn.
I don't know if Ray wants to unmute and talk about it, but it's just basically approval by the town council for the town to go for a brownfields grant
Okay,
associated with the Straska Farm property.
okay. So we want to make a motion for that? I think he's trying.
John, do we need to make a motion to instruct Ray to go to seek
No.
brownfield grant?
Oh, no, the resolution is town council authorizes the town manager to pursue a brownfields grant and authorized to sign the necessary paper on behalf of the town.
Okay. Okay. Moving on.
Off the top of my head.
Well, so we do need the motion, right, to authorize John to pursue the grant on behalf of the town.
Yes, yeah, I need a resolution or a motion so I can send that off to the state.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, so
So Mayor, I'd like to make the resolution to authorize the town manager to put together materials necessary, seek the brownfield grant for Straska Barn on behalf of the town, and all necessary signatures.
thank you. Is there a second? Okay, all in favor? Aye.
And just
And Jeff Levine seconded that. I don't know if that came across. Did you want to say something, Councilor Duff?
Yeah, I just had a question. So this grant is specific to the barn. I guess if you could talk a little bit, like just if we have the details to share how this aligns with the existing steep grant we're pursuing, and then like timeline and amount. Do we
No, the grant is for brownfield assessment and remediation of parcel B, including the house demolition and also soil remediation, and folded into that the remedial action plan, which will also incorporate a grading plan for the barn and for the access to the barn, and how it would have to work around, any type of remediation action. So it'll give us a good starting point for a second.
And I believe that
And-
deadline to get it in is April, right, Ray?
April 7th.
Yep.
And the amounts to be determined based on additional environmental work to be started in a couple of weeks.
Okay. Anything else, Councilor Duff?
No, thank you. That was helpful.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, presentation, possible action, town app and town website upgrade agreement. And we have joining us tonight, John Nowakowski, who is our IT director, and who worked with him on this, John Murphy, who is running our meeting presently. So welcome.
Thank you. Hi, thank you. As we all know, the town has a lot to offer its residents. And one of our primary means of communicating with residents is through our website. Technology changes, our website's growing outdated. It's time for a refresh. That was a budgeted item for this year, and it's something we've been working on throughout the year. However, as we've gone through and looked at that, it became apparent that we needed some additional forms of communication, primarily around a web app or a mobile application, so that we could increase communications using newer technologies. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to John Murphy.
Thanks, John. I have just a few slides to share here. Let's see. Everyone has that?
Yep.
Yes.
Thank you. So just a few slides to go over what we're trying to accomplish with this new project. I'll talk briefly about our website, our present website, and what we would like to do with a new version of the website, and an updated version. As John mentioned also, we would like to roll out a municipal app to all the residents. And I'll explain what that is involved with. And then we'll talk about how we would implement these two items, and then the value of the investment, meaning the website and the app costs. So presently the website, the existing contract with our current website vendor, it expires June 30th of this year. So we've already been planning to renew that contract, or certainly with another vendor, but we have to do something at some point with the existing website. But in fact, it's a very dated 6-year-old design, and it's not a very mobile friendly website. It does play on mobile devices, meaning cell phones and tablets, but it's a less than ideal user experience, and I'll explain a little bit more about that. Something that the public doesn't ever see, but the back-end system is very difficult to manage, and it's very slow for IT staff. And presently that falls on me to do all that, the website updates. And I can say from experience with lots of different systems, this particular one is quite slow and really antiquated in the way it manages things behind the scenes. Another thing that we've come across in the past year or two, John and I talked about this, is that our present website is not ADA compliant, which through some research, we know that it holds some potential financial and other liabilities. Not having a website that is people with hearing disabilities or visual impairments who might have special software to look at websites, our website does not play nicely in that environment. And that could be certainly a problem. The data design, meaning the way that the website looks, it does pose a challenge in displaying and highlighting important information and announcements or special events. There's a very limited area on the homepage for what we call featured news, and a lot of things are competing for that space. If you're familiar with the site, that's kind of a scrolling little bit of information that I put the most timely things that we want to have in front of residents. But if you noticed in the case of when we started with this pandemic about a year ago, I had to totally just redo the homepage to have it be full of COVID-19 information, which is totally not at all appropriate for the website homepage. But we just threw all that to the wind, knowing that we had to get the information out to people. So it's very difficult, not only on the homepage, but individual department pages, to call attention to the most important information in a timely manner. And really what that ends up occurring is that users are having difficulty finding the information they need. Not only timely information, but just regular department information, documents that have to be hosted on the website. It's sometimes very difficult to find what you need. And that translates into people picking up the phone to find somebody in town hall to speak to about basic information, or sending an email to town staff. And it becomes really a time-consuming endeavor to give residents information that they need, that they really should easily be able to find for themselves on the website if the website was designed a little bit better. Our current website, again, is the primary means of sharing governance, department, and program information, of course. And in our assessment, the current website is not meeting the town's need for an effective communication tool. Again, in early 2020, we began the process of looking for a new website developer, as well as having discussions with department heads to understand the requirements, so that we weren't starting this process in a vacuum and assuming what departments needed for their needs. So we reviewed many vendor offerings, and in the end, the IT department recommends a new website provided by the company CivicPlus. CivicPlus really plays in the municipal and government space. This is really what they do. That's their specialty. They have over 4,000 municipal customers and 20 years of local government experience. And after doing a little bit of research, I found at least 26 customers in Connecticut that use the Civic Engage website platform, which is the product that we would like to start using. But there are many, many more other towns and municipalities in Connecticut that use products from CivicPlus, like a dedicated HR app, a dedicated town clerk type of app, or agenda offerings. So they have a wide range of products and they're used throughout the country. So the advantage of us rolling out a new website will just be the improved website design. It'll be much more functional and attractive. It'll offer improved website navigation, and it will be easier for staff to modify the layout of these pages as need be. And importantly, the new site will be ADA compliant. It'll be built from the ground up with CivicPlus to be sure that we meet all regulations regarding ADA compliance. And behind the scenes, the vastly improved web page management will be much more efficient and save staff time when creating new content and doing updates. And again, that's primarily my responsibility in the IT department. And I can say that it's really time consuming to do multiple updates to our present website. I'll come in the morning and I'll get requests from different town staff, or there'll be tickets in our ticketing system for things I need to change on any given day. And really, I can work much faster creating the content or crafting the content and posting it to the website in the time that it takes for actually it to go live. There's a lot of pauses on the back end, and it's really wasting a lot of my time. I would say I could be at least 50% more efficient with a much snappier and responsive back end. And we've tried with our present vendor to understand why is it take so long if after I hit post for it all to do its thing and come and become a live page. And they said they've done really at this point whatever they could do to make it faster. Excuse me. An interesting thing about the new website, it will offer a function called Notify Me, which is a function that will allow residents to subscribe and to receive updated information. So a resident will create an account, a profile on our website, and then they can receive news information from different calendars, updated department information, anything on the website that they want to subscribe to, and we'll have many categories of information. And in this case, they will start to receive things sent to them via email versus what we're relying upon right now, which is people to, wake up and say, I wonder if there's anything new on the website I better go find. And that's a method of communication called pulling information from the source. We want to switch it over to more of a push, where if we say something or post some new information on the website, it'll just end up in people's inbox if they subscribed and wanted to get that information. It's a much more effective way of getting information out. There's also a function that we will try to roll out, or we will roll out, called Citizen Request Tracker, which is a way for residents to report issues throughout town and then have a way to receive status updates. We presently do have a web form on our website with a couple of different categories, people wanting to report certain issues throughout town, and they'll get routed to certain staff in town to act upon that information. But there really is no way for the resident to track the status of what those requests are. And then internally, we don't have really a repository either of a way to track those events and to see if there's trends in different things. And it'll just make a much more streamlined way, again, of citizens reporting things. We did look at much more robust 311 applications, this is similar to that, where people can report issues throughout town, like potholes, lights out, and things like that. We looked at a lot of really back-end intensive systems that would generate work orders and be very complicated. But after working with the different departments, it was determined that we did not need to do something to that degree, not at this point. And very importantly, the new website will be mobile device compatible. Excuse me, I did some research. I pulled the stats from our Google Analytics. And in the past 12 months, 48% of the traffic to the website came from mobile devices. That would be a cell phone or a tablet. Surprisingly, tablets were only about 3%. I'm not sure why it was so low compared to phones, but I guess people really aren't using their tablets as much. But what this says to me, because I know how kind of poorly our website looks now on mobile devices, is that 40% of the people coming to the website had a subpar experience with the town's website. You can find things through your phone, but the menus don't look proper, the pages don't scale correctly. So that's a big number of residents that we need to address. People are using their phones to access information more and more. And beyond access to the entire website on your phone, we've also really come up with the idea of rolling out a municipal app to residents that could be downloaded from the Google Store or the iTunes application. And what the app does, excuse me, let me just back up to let you know about the justification for this. In May of 2020, a working group was formed to develop the requirements for the municipal smartphone app to improve the communication with residents, especially to enhance our ability to notify people of information as it's released. That is really the basis of doing the app on top of the new website, is enhancing our ability to notify people of things and to communicate more effectively. So the group met regularly to discuss the options and reviewed offerings from several vendors. As that working group was formed, John Okowski and I rolled in the idea that we really do need to do the website as well. And it really became kind of obvious that both products should work hand in hand. And if at all possible, we find one vendor to give us both of these things. There's a lot of efficiencies with regard to that I'll talk about. So here's just a little graphic example of what an app would look like versus going to the website. You have any number of buttons. This one seems to be totally packed, but they're really short, quick links to what we think would be things that the residents would want at their fingertips. Calendar, agendas, anything important regarding special events, you name it, we can highlight it here. And what's very attractive to us is that we can change all of this on the fly as need be, and I'll talk about that in a second. So again, beyond a mobile compatible website is that using an app gets the critical information always at your fingertips. Keep residents informed of the most important information that they need to receive. The basic stuff like calendars, agendas, and events. But one really important aspect of using a smartphone app is the idea of notifications, where just using the website, people will get emails sent to them. And if they happen to have their email client on their phone, give them an alert that they have new things in their inbox. They may find the information from us in a timely manner. But using smartphones and cell phones, people will get notifications from the town. If they subscribe to those, we're not going to overdo it. But if they've subscribed and they indicated they want to receive info from the town, even when your phone is locked or when you're on your homepage doing something else on your phone, you'll get the notification. We're all very familiar with how that works. Again, the website and the app will be very tightly integrated. If I was the person administrating this, I don't have to do things in multiple places. All the content will be input onto the website. And as things are determined to go to the app, I just have to click a few buttons and then it goes to the app. So there's not managing information in two separate places, which would be a huge waste of our time. And again, using a single vendor definitely has its efficiencies. And one thing I touched upon a moment ago is that the simple customizable content of the app. We looked at a lot of products where we could not make changes to what was on that app or the buttons or even the background image. Say seasonally, we wanted to change some information on there, or we have big town events. We have Fall Fest or the parades and whatnot, and we want to change some content. A lot of the other products we looked at, we would have to go back to the vendor and ask them to make those changes, and very likely you have to pay for those changes. Excuse me, my phone's ringing. But in the case of the CivicPlus app, we can manage all of that ourselves on the fly. It makes it very responsive, and we can increase our reaction time during emergencies. It would have been great during the COVID-19 pandemic to be able to push stuff out onto the app. And for all sorts of special events, we can make all those changes ourselves to the app, which was unique to CivicPlus. And we've talked a lot about communicating with residents, and we want to be sure that we don't give the impression that we'll be bombarding them with things. People can opt in and opt out of any communication category or type that they wish to receive. They can change their preferences at any time. We'll even try to be sure that we coordinate with Board of Education, where we'll pass along any important notifications that have to come from them and any other agencies in town. So above all, this will be a much more effective means of communicating with the residents. We've thought about how to implement this. Of course, we'll start a working group with key town staff to get some design input and usability decisions, work out some of the details. We already have started working, but we certainly work with individual departments on their content requirements and approving the content. There's a lot of information on our website right now, and I'm certain that some of it is likely outdated. So this is a great chance to kind of do a reset on all the data on the website. Things can be found through Google search that are not on our website, but still somehow exist on the server from years and years ago. And every day I'm trying to find things and read them out. But this is a great way to start over with all of the content. We'll begin the development process with the vendor. We'll go with the site offline. We'll start working on the internal review and getting approvals and testing the site. And the website rollout and the app will take approximately 4 to 6 months. So again, we want to reiterate that CivicPlus is a leader in this area of municipal websites and applications. We knew that they would be one of the best companies to get involved with, but we also were very aggressive in our negotiations with them, and they really worked very strongly with us to try to get us on board. I've been speaking to them for probably going on a year now, and I think we've come up with a good agreement. And that agreement involves a 4-year commitment from the town, which includes the development costs and an annual subscription charge. That is typically the case with all of these web developers. It's a 3 to 4 year stretch that you commit to, and then at the end, they offer you a free refresh of the look and feel of the site in that 4th or 5th year. So as part of our negotiations, we got to the point where we were able to spread the development costs, which normally would be a large upfront sum of money. We got CivicPlus to agree to allow us to spread the development costs over the 4 years of the contract with them. So you'll see we have annual subscription charges starting about $12,000 and ending about $14,000 per year. There is a pre-built in increase. I think it's 5% contractually, but we'll add in a fraction of a quarter of normally upfront development costs each year. So annually we'd be spending about $16,300 to, in the end, $18,274 in the 4th year. But then in the 5th year, because we will not be carrying those development costs anymore, the anticipated budget 5 years from now would be $14,726. So in summary, the new website and the app will address many issues that we currently have. We have a lot of communication challenges and an absolute lack of real-time messaging to our residents. There's operational efficiencies of the website, the way that the back end works and how staff has to manage it. Again, the current website is very slow. Updates to the websites are time intensive, which to me equals loss of my productivity. The current website is not fully ADA compliant, which is exposing us to various things. And overall, it's a poor user experience. But on the bright side, the positive, the new website will improve the town's image, the marketability of the town, and possibly even a positive effect on economic development efforts. And it'll certainly will better support town programs and departments, and ultimately improve our ability to communicate effectively with the residents, which is the primary goal of redoing these 2 products. So that does conclude my presentation. If there's questions, I'd be happy to answer some. I may lean on John Mayer at some point, but thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for that wonderful presentation, very detailed, and I'm going to see which counselors may have some questions or comments.
A couple.
Counselor Levine.
Hi, John, thanks for the presentation. That is exciting stuff to see. Just a couple questions. On the timing, I think you said our current contract ends June 30th with our
Yes.
current vendor. Is that correct?
Yes.
So, and this new website is going to take 4 to 6 months to develop. So what happens from like July 1st through September 30th?
The plan is to just pay month to month with them.
Okay.
They knew that, I mean, they knew this contract was coming up. They really haven't even tried to court us to try to renew or so we'll just go month to month. We'll have to have a conversation with them. But we won't lose our present website.
Right. Okay, good. And maybe talk a little about security. Is this new website, are there better security features in this website from hackers getting into it or what have you, better remote management capabilities for you and your staff, especially, like COVID, you couldn't go into the office, those sorts of things?
Well, the site is hosted by CivicPlus on their servers. Their uptime is just as good as anybody else's. Even our present site, we haven't had really in the 4 years I've worked for the town, any issues with the site going down. And John can speak better to the security aspect of it, but that's really on the vendor to be sure that their site is secure. But it's all in the cloud, so I've never had any problem making updates no matter where I was, either in the office or at home to work on the website.
Yeah, and I can attest that I've actually looked at CivicPlus for a number of years now. Even when as long as about 3 or 4 years ago, we knew at some point the website was going to need to change. And as we looked at some of the various activities of hackers and cyber attackers throughout the years, CivicPlus has come up a lot as one of those sites that have been very reliable and resilient. So we're happy to go with them.
Okay, no, that's great. It sounds like a really terrific potential for improvement, both on the computer side and the smartphone side. So I think it could be pretty exciting stuff for the town. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Duff?
I think I had Ed, Ed, if you want to go for me.
Go ahead, you're on.
Yeah, it's a few questions. I think it's very exciting. Some of these might be yes, no questions. Do we have plans to have like ads on either the site or the app? I know that was something that came up in the past, but there's some concerns about the pros and cons there.
I don't believe so.
You mentioned that with that monthly, or sorry, with the annual fee, that Civic Cloud was going to be, or CivicPlus was going to be hosting in their cloud, so that the dev cost, the annual sub, that's all in, right? There's no anything else.
That's right. And there's a lot of, I didn't want to take up time in the meeting, and there's a lot of modules that they offer, 20 or 30 different widgets and things that we don't even have access to now, that we can use those as we need to do, which is good.
And then the other question that I have is, one of the challenges that we have is always, it's not just that we have this tool, but making sure that people know about it. So I think it's great that we build this out, and it seems very promising. But do you guys have a number on what we might need to do, for marketing or to spread the word? I mean, to me, that seems like, at least a handful of mailers or something, because I'm sure there's a critical mass of people who need to know about the app and the site in order for it to get, like adoption. It's almost like vaccination in its own way. Like a certain number of people need to know before it can actually spread throughout the community. How do we get there? I don't know if that's another, because it seems to me that's an extra cost that maybe, especially the beginning, that we would need to think about when it lifts off.
Well, I think we'll definitely rely heavily on our social media platforms. I know Mayor Murata is very active in social media, so she'll be sharing updates about the website, and the app, especially pushed through a mobile, application like Facebook. We have the electronic signs throughout town, which is hard to, gauge the effectiveness of those, but certainly a lot of people see those on a regular basis. I thought certainly the opening of the new senior community center this will be great timing, that this stuff will likely happen at the same time. And I know a lot of the senior and human services information really needs kind of a shot in the arm, and this new website will really help showcase not only the new building, but all the new programming, but vice versa, as people are going, learning about the new building. And we let them know, well, just go to the website. It's much more expanded information than we ever had before. That'll be a great way to reach a large population to to have them adopt some of this new stuff. And certainly the app, anybody that visits one of our buildings, and we can partner up with the library. We can have signage or posters as you enter into the building, showing the app, big blow up of the app, please consider downloading the app, things like that. It could come to spending money, a little bit of money on advertising, but I'm not sure if we would have to do that. We'd explore every other avenue first.
Yeah, I think I'd just be interested to see if CivicPlus had, or if that's the way we do go, if they had any insight on best practices, because I agree, those are a lot of good ways to get people who already use our resources to know about what's improving out there, and hopefully they'll tell other folks. But we do have a big, especially with the community senior center opening up, we have a big audience of people that we're not quite reaching yet, and I think we want to make sure that we get to those folks too.
Well, I would say CivicPlus, they would have some insight into that because this is what they do. So we can definitely ask them about that.
Thanks.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Sharma.
Sure. Thank you for the presentation, guys. A lot of research has gone into it, and since the pandemic has hit, I mean, I think we've been working really hard to improve the technology communication. I mean, the Zoom meetings, we didn't have that capability before. Does the website help with these virtual meetings at all?
Not really. They're two totally different platforms.
Because I was thinking, as these end up in the library of YouTube videos, I mean, people view them. Many of the meetings are getting good viewer count, and we could have at the typical hit the bell and subscribe, and it would link you to the website and the app.
Right.
Yeah, no, I think that this is going to help immensely. I think we found that we did have a tremendous need during the heat of the pandemic, with the emergency management operations, and people going to that, really relying on the website for updates and for to find any information on the pandemic. So I'm all for it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Councilor Greenspan?
John, you mentioned briefly in the presentation that there was some opportunities to put information up from the Board of Ed side. Have you explored anything more formally with the Board of Ed of combining some of that on the website, so it'll be one website, different tabs, or whatever the technical terms are?
Well, we haven't explored it beyond just knowing that if the town were to make this investment in this technology, a new website and an app, that we would be willing to share any information that they needed us to share, high level timely things that need to be sent to residents. But we're two totally different entities when it comes to things like this. So we have been discussing it a little bit, and maybe John can add to that comment. But
sure. Actually, yes, I did talk to the Board of Ed, my counterpart there. They don't have an app per se. They have no plans to develop. So we certainly, are inviting them along to make utilization of whatever we come up with. As far as the individual website goes, they, as been noted, they are their own entity, and I don't think they want a shared website per se. They like their presence on the on the internet, kind of a marketing and branding thing.
And let me just explain where I was going with it, and it wasn't so much the sharing. For those of us that don't have kids in the high school, we don't know when high school athletic events take place. We don't know when some of the plays take place at the high school. So that app would be that tool for communication. And I'm not trying to steal their thunder of what they do on the Board of Ed side, but actually sharing it and help promote some of their programs.
Absolutely. I would actually encourage them to do so. And like I said, they don't have any plans, at least the last time I talked to them, they didn't, for their own app. So we can certainly make it available to them, and have it just be, give them their own login, let them include their own stuff on the app as well.
Great, thank you.
yeah, or if they have that information on their website, we can just create behind the scenes a feed that from their website onto a certain calendar on the app where, okay, now I want to look at Board of Ed information. So we're not duplicating or having to type things in twice. If it exists on their website, there's more than likely a way to have it appear without any extra labor on our end.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else have any questions or comments at this time? All right, I'm just going to say I'm incredibly excited by the opportunity. I think that communication is everything. And if the pandemic has taught us anything, as we recognize there are some significant weaknesses in our ability to communicate with the residents, and whether the pandemic comes and goes, there's always going to be something. And we're witnessing that now with property crime, with crazy weather incidents. There's always something where people need to hear from us. And so any opportunity, particularly one that is current with technology, such as the app that allows us to interface with the public in real time, I think is critical. So thank you so very much for exploring this. And I know that there is a town council resolution in your packets to approve the agreement for our IT department. So I presume you've all had an opportunity to read that. Then we will go ahead. I'll ask for a motion to approve this. Hello.
I want to put out the motion to approve the upgrade agreement for the town app and the town website.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Wonderful. Excellent. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us and for all of your hard work over the past year and making this happen.
And
Very exciting. Very exciting.
Bringing us into the digital world.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
So let's just wrap up now with new business. Item C, discussion, possible action, 30, I don't have my glasses. It's a 33 Church Street temporary easement and maintenance agreement. So we do have this in our packet as well.
It should be in the packet, the easement agreement for the memorial that a resident wants to put in at the library in honor of his late wife. I think he's responsible for developing it and maintaining it for the first 4 years and so on. So it's more or less an agreement between the town and Mr. Patak on this memorial at on the grounds of the library at 33 Church Street.
Thank you, John. So I will entertain a motion to permit the town to enter into this temporary easement and maintenance agreement.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to accept the temporary easement and maintenance agreement as drafted.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
Okay.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay, so let's move on to the mayor's report. Just a little bit, give you a quick update on COVID. So the numbers were posted earlier this afternoon, and since it was over the weekend, we don't see the weekend numbers, but as of Friday, the daily positivity rate is 2.95%, so it continues to maintain at that relatively low rate. On March 19th, the state will begin scheduling appointments for ages 45 to 54. And the governor announced that They're sort of rapidly increasing scheduling times because he does anticipate receiving more vaccine, which is a wonderful place to be. Just very briefly, and we had done a moment of silence in the beginning, and that was for Mrs. Dawkins. So Mr. Dawkins, as some of you may remember, was a mayor of Rocky Hill, who has since passed, and his wife now has passed, but he does have a surviving son here in Rocky Hill. So we did want to extend our condolences to that family. So we do have, as Deputy Mayor Sharmat mentioned, the Rocky Hill Police Department tip line. And for those of you who may not have heard of it yet, there is a special number that you can call in to provide a tip. And that number, as you can see on your screen, is 860-258-2020, which is a catchy number, easy to remember. Just a couple things, as it says here, this is a tip line to report suspicious activity. It is to report suspected drug activity and any other crime information, but notably, it's not to report this type of activity that is happening at the moment, right? This is sort of past activity, something you may have seen and you want to report it. If in fact you see something happening, right? Or if in fact you are experiencing some type of an emergency, always call 911. That has not changed. But this tip line is there for you when you say, geez, that was something unusual, let me report that. And remember that the tip line will not be monitored 24/7. So again, if you have an emergency or if you see something actively occurring, do call 911. However, this tip line is an excellent resource and a great tool to add to our toolbox as we continue to find ways to reduce crime levels here in Rocky Hill. So I'm very thankful to the PD for that. A very quick update on the Foundry. I know this always generates a lot of excitement. So we do expect to see soil remediation beginning down at the Foundry in a couple of months. And once that begins, we will have Attorney Romano come in and give us a little update. We do have a photo of a rendering. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to get that up. It looks like, aha. So with permission of Mr. Thielen, I was allowed to share this rendering with you. It's pretty cool. This is just a building. So there are going to be a number of buildings down there. But if you can see the river sort of off there to the left, just a very nice looking, another sort of looking dead on straight of the building. So we will start to see some activity in the next couple of months down there. And again, we will have Attorney Romano come in and share what's going on with us during that time. Thank you, John. The next thing is Earth Day. I wanted to share with you, Earth Day is April 22nd. And we will be hosting a composting event in conjunction with the Rocky Hill Library. And as you know, Councilor Thoreau and I have been deeply engrossed with all things trash related and recycling and composting and organics. So Councilor Thoreau and I will be sort of, talking and participating in this composting event, and there will be more information, but that will be April 22nd, and we hope that you will join us at 6 p.m. The library is going to get lots more information out there, and we are going to have some vendors. It's going to be super cool. And we're actually going to announce at that time, we're trying to work on our first action item, which would be related to this for sustainable CT credit. So that's kind of in the works too. One thing I didn't mention to John Murphy, who I know is going to be showing you things, I want to mention to everyone that April 5th through April 9th, the Chamber is hosting a Taste of Rocky Hill. So I just want you to keep your eyes out for that promotion. It's a way for us through our Economic Development Department, as well as through the Chamber of Commerce, to recognize the importance of our small businesses here in town, provide them with support, and especially our restaurants who have been hit very hard. So even though we know that the governor has relaxed capacity restrictions. When your tables still need to be spaced 6 feet apart, and you're not able to get in as many folks. So we want to help them, and we also want to encourage residents, build confidence, customer confidence, to get out there and start enjoying our restaurants again. So we're going to be hosting a fun event with participating restaurants that week of April 5th. Which leads us to the UROC Awards. So I'm gonna pull up our nominees. So as you know, every quarter we are going to recognize some super folks who we consider to be rock stars here in Rocky Hill. And what's really special about this presentation for March is these are nominations that came in from the public. And so we have our first award recipient is Juliana Elowin, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right, but there she is, such a cutie. I just want to tell you quickly that she is a sophomore at Rocky Hill High School. And in 2021, she organized a Valentine's for Vets Drive. And so if you recognize that building, that's the VA building off of West Street behind her. She reached out to the veterans home and she learned that there are 213 veterans at the facility between the nursing and the housing residential. So she spoke to her dance class and her friends and families about her project. And she wanted to make sure that every veteran received a homemade Valentine. And through her efforts, she collected 428 cards, enough for every veteran to receive 2 cards. And so Juliana was nominated. So congratulations, Juliana, you certainly rock. Our next recipient is Rosetta Fraley. So Rosetta received this nomination. It said that she has really done a lot as a local business owner of Cutter's Edge Salon, but she uses her business presence to help the community. So she actually has participated in a number of charitable organizations such as the Wounded Warrior Project and the RC13 Foundation, which offers scholarships to our Rocky Hill High School seniors. She also, through her stylist efforts and through her salon and using her skills, helps countless women battling hair loss as a result of breast cancer. She is a champion of young professionals in her field, and she does help by offering mentorships to those getting involved. She's been very, very active in the community with her children and Project Graduation and a number of things. So Rosetta, you are certainly a rock star, and congratulations. Our next one is to Chief Joe Graham and the entire Rocky Hill Volunteer Ambulance Association. And really, there's no words for this one because these are the folks who day in and day out, when the pandemic first struck, were not even given it a second thought. They are out with their PPE. And at that time, we didn't even know what precisely was the appropriate PPE to be wearing. And they were just out there doing their jobs as volunteers, right? Responding to 911 calls. And there were a lot of 911 calls. And for this group of individuals, and there are 76 members here in Rocky Hill that belong to our ambulance association. For this group of individuals, we just want to say from the bottom of our hearts, thank you for everything that you do for our community. Our next recipients are the brothers Kelly. We have Lieutenant Bill Kelly, and we also have Lieutenant Edward Kelly. And if you don't know, these two brothers actually received the Ribbon of Valor from the Rocky Hill Fire Department. Chief Garrahy awarded them for their courageous water rescue, which happened on our Connecticut River down at the riverfront on December 22nd. So these gentlemen and within a number of minutes entered the water, freezing water, breaking through the ice to save someone's life, a Rocky Hill resident. And for that, they were recipients of this ribbon, an award of valor, which is really something that in the 90 plus years of its existence and the fire department's existence, rarely goes out to individuals. And so these two brothers, we just want to say thank you for everything that you do. You are definitely rock stars, in our opinion. Another person who was nominated is Kim Ritchie. So I received a story that one evening there was a resident who had an emergency at their house and called for an ambulance to come, and was actually amazed and astonished to see our town planner come in to the rescue. And this person wrote, "What an incredible person. She works by day for the town of Rocky Hill, and at night she runs on an ambulance to literally care for us. She is my hero. She rocks, and the community is better because of her. And I want to thank her from the bottom of my heart." So, I mean, talk about dedication, right? That's a 24/7 passionate community server. And so thank you so much. You definitely rock. And we have one more. There she is, Juliana Violet. So this young woman was nominated because in March she organized a small group to assist her in being the change around town. When her school closed down, she orchestrated a small group to make thank you signs and leave them at all the schools in town. She thanked teachers, paras, custodians, administrators, nurses, and more. She received incredible feedback. And so next she made appreciation signs for the local nursing homes. And all of this was done anonymously because Juliana is very humble. After that, she decided to take her small group and start making masks. And they were handmade and they were donated to Middlesex Hospital, as well as the Summit Center in Middletown and the Rocky Hill Human Resources Center. They were also handmade and delivered to folks around town, and people actually donated money for these masks, and Juliana donated all of that money back to the Rocky Hill Food Pantry, which was over $500. So really just another tremendous student. She has created the Senior Student Alliance. So you can actually find out about that Senior Student Alliance on her Instagram page. But this is really also very impressive. So recognizing that seniors desperately need interaction, particularly during our extreme lockdown situation, she created this to have a local confirmation, religious education students and Girl Scouts send letters, cards, emails, and correspondence to a local senior citizen in need. She has over 50 people participating in her group presently. And a senior has written her saying that, you know, when they receive these correspondence, it just makes all the difference in the world. So she is really making the community better for a number of folks. And she's also encouraging more young people to get involved. So Juliana, you rock. And thanks for all you guys do. So congratulations to everyone. And we're tremendously excited. And in 3 months, we will do this again. And last but not least, happy St. Patrick's Day. So I'm going to turn it over to Town Manager John Mayer.
Thank you, and congratulations to all the award winners. And Friday, I received a letter from the superintendent about the Board of Ed adopting their budget for 21-22. It's $48,205,761. It's an increase of $1.7 million over last year, or a 3.75% increase. Primarily rising costs in salaries, health insurance, property services, and equipment, as well as establishing a human resource department for the Rocky Hill Public Schools. I'm waiting for the updated pages for their budget book and copy of this letter, and their pages will be sent out hopefully sometime this week to the town council. Update on the streetscape. As of Friday, 99% of the electrical conduit has been installed. Just one light base remains to be put in. 50% of the sidewalk is done. The east side is pretty much completed. They're working outside. And the contractor last week began installing some of the decorative light poles. And as of end of last week, they've been averaging about 6 per day. Also going on the Silas Dean is the state is updating the 20 traffic lights. So their contractor Ducey has been working on installing the new black arm masts at the intersection of Elm Street and Silas Dean. So that is, again, that's a state project separate from the streetscape. And the state will be updating all the traffic lights on the Silas Dean. Tomorrow there's I'll be attending a mirror where we send our solid waste or garbage to. We're going to have a conference call to explain their $105 a ton tipping fee and so on. So any information I receive from that, I'll include that in with the package going with the Board of Ed material. Parks Department has a new event coming up on March 27th called Hop Around the Hill Egg Hunt. This will be a socially distanced event, and it'll be similar to signing up to with tea times, I guess, going around Elmridge Park, finding Easter eggs. Scoops and Sprinkles is going to be a sponsor of the event, and the event is scheduled to take place at Elmridge Park on Saturday, March 27th, or rain date is Sunday, March 28th, between 10 a.m. and 12 p.m. And more details will be on the town website. Also, the graffiti has been removed from the amphitheater, and the dog park will probably remain closed for the remainder of the month due to help the turf recover. Just a brief update on the vaccine. Since the state sort of switched to an age group to determine on who's eligible for vaccine. So currently, anybody 55 and older can get a vaccine. Starting March 19th, they're planning on opening it up to 45 to 54-year-olds. And tentatively on April 5th, they're scheduling to open up to individuals between 16 and 44. With money coming into the state from Washington, the governor and the Department of Housing has developed a funding to help people out that are having trouble or need for rental payments, as well as utility assistance. The guidelines is that it may provide up to $10,000 in rental assistance and up to $1,500 in electrical utility payments. It's fairly new. It's called Unite CT, and it's a new project being handled by the Department of Housing. So at this moment, the best way to get any information is going on the Department of Housing's website. And then last, just to probably repeat what Alan just said earlier, that the town is expecting to get $1.9 million through the American Rescue Plan and the Board of Ed, about 900,000. Hopefully we'll get 50% of the town's share within the next 60 days and the rest, the other 50% a year later. The town has until end of calendar year 2024 to expend it, but waiting for guidelines to be issued by the Treasury Department on what you can spend that money on. And that's it for me.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Did someone have a question? No, okay. So moving on to the executive session, contract negotiations with the town manager, director of human resources and legal compliance, et cetera. Is there a motion to go
Madam
into
Mayor.
executive session?
Yep, Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session regarding the contract negotiation with town manager, director of human resources and legal compliance, town labor and employment council regarding local 1303-112 of council number 4 AFSCME of the AFL-CIO.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we will move into executive session.
Please give me a moment to stop.
Did you,
Live.
did we,
I think
Did we
had to
vote on
have a
that?
vote. Yeah,
We
had
should
to have a
second.
vote.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There's a second.
Yeah, I think I saw a second.
Second.
Yeah, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Chris.
One moment, please.